Hello everybody, it's Becca at Sew Darn Twisted. Today we're going to be following on from the previous tutorial where we covered covering even a hardback book cover with custom papers and decorations and the like. And today we're going to deal with putting some signatures in using the hidden spine method. So it's quite an easy one to do. So don't stress yourself out. I did go over some materials in the last video, but I will just recap those in just a second. So you've got your book and you've got your covered spine. You're going to need a pen or pencil and a ruler, and then either an awl. This is a pokey tool by Crafter's Companion, but you can use an awl because it's got the handle on it, can make it a little bit easier. Or you can use a hole punch, depending on which you prefer. But it needs to be a small hole punch, not the bigger size one. It's too big. You don't need it. So you'll also need some waxed cotton and a needle that your cotton has or can fit through the eye of it, because I don't know how many times I've picked up a needle thinking that's perfect and then my thread doesn't fit through. It's very, very exasperating. So you're also going to want a variety of papers to fill the journal, to make your signatures with. I have some papers that I've printed, which are absolutely beautiful, kind of forest witch sort of style. I have some dark green vellum paper, some card, I have some envelopes, different types of envelopes. I don't know what that one's doing in there, but it's a nice green anyway. I've got obviously the double-sided paper that matches what I put on the inside. I don't know if you can see this is kind of a greenish yellow paper. It's not yellow like aged paper. And I've also got some Amazon packaging paper that I've just gone over quickly with the iron, so I'll be cutting that to size as well. Alright, so now that we've got our selection of papers, you need to measure up the inside of the book for your pages. Now the height is very simple, it will be approximately where your inside paper ends, but a great little tip for you here, which is if you measure the pages that came from the book, that will give you the exact measurement that you need. So it's a great cheat to use in future if you've got a book that you're dismantling, is just measure the page, and obviously if you measure it that way, double it. So mine works out at 19.5 by 26.5, and this was a Reader's Digest standard hardback size. So if you're using one of those, it will be that size most likely. So now we're just going to trim our papers to be the right size. Obviously the 26.5 needs to go that way. I've made that mistake myself in the past where I've actually measured it the wrong way. Yes, I know. If you've got paper like this though that's folded, it's got like a point of folding in the middle, take the excess measurement off of each end, otherwise it will end off kilter. So I need to take about 1.5 centimetres off the edge, off of each edge of these. So we're just going to go ahead and cut these down. Now I know it's unlikely that I need to tell you guys this, but don't throw away the strips that you cut off of the edge, because they can make really great page decorations or putting on pockets and that kind of thing. So don't throw those away. We'll keep those to one side for embellishments later. Alright, so I've got 15 sheets of paper here of varying types, as I showed you earlier, and I've got 3 envelopes. Now, I find that at this size of book, 3 signatures with 5 pages, you know, plus an envelope or what have you, is absolutely plenty, because this book is the same size as the one that we've just made. And as you can see, it's already really chunky, and there's still a lot of extra space in here. Well, there's still quite a bit of extra space in here that I can add to if I want to. So, you know, that's plenty. So what I will suggest to you now is that if you're planning to clip the corners and age the edges of your papers, do it first. Every time I've done it where I've sewn them in and what have you first, and then tried to ink the pages, it's a nuisance. You're constantly trying to get into the creases. I don't know if anybody else does it that way, or if it was just me being silly, but either way, if you're a beginner, you might make the same mistakes I did when I was a beginner. So I'm going to now clip out these corners and weather the edges. Obviously, I don't need to show you how to do that. I'm pretty sure by now you know how to do those things. If you don't, however, and you're just following this because you're curious, feel free to go and check out my playlist of junk journals explained and jargon busting and stuff like that, because it's all explained in there. Alright, I'm going to have a quick catch up with you while I just do the last couple of bits of the weathering. I'm not going to lie, I've had to do this in quite a few stages because my body decided to quit on me earlier on. I have some chronic pain conditions, and quite often I have to abandon tutorials and then come back to them when I'm having a good hour or so. So yeah, the reason I wanted to come back to you while I just finish these bits though, and God, isn't this the most boring part of making journals? I hate weathering. I'm going to be making another series soon about how to use your Cricut to make things for your junk journals. Because I've seen quite a lot of people ask, and I've been asked when I've used things in the past that I've made, you know, what can I make with a Cricut for a junk journal? So I'm going to go through and just show you a few things that you can make and how to do them from the Cricut software. Obviously I can only help when it comes to the software as far as Cricut goes, but I dare say the rest of the things are very similar, so you just have to figure that bit out if you've got a silhouette or I can't remember the names, I'm sorry. I know there's other types you can get, but they escape me at the moment. So yeah, I'll just be doing like a mini series to go along with the other series that I've done, and we'll be adding to as well, because I'll be adding to my jargon busting tutorial playlist as well soon. I'll be talking about things like embossing and die cutting and things like that, so things that you guys just, you know, might get a bit of a kick out of, and maybe wondering what the heck it's all about and how does it work, etc. So that's what I'll be showing you in those tutorials. So I will now just crack on and get the rest of these done, maybe. Okay, so I've compiled my 3 signatures with 5 pages in each, and in amongst them I have got the envelope. Now, I dare say I'm not the only person who does this, but I love to decorate this and then glue it to create a little tuck spot in there. I just think it's really cute, so I tend to do that now. So yeah, they're all combined. Obviously, make sure that things are the right way up. You know, I have numerous times put pages in upside down, and I know I'm not alone, so we're just trying to make sure that we do that. So now we'll get round to marking this out to sew your signatures into. Okay, I totally misplaced my ruler, so I had to go on the hunt for that. Now, I tend to work with 3 holes for this size, because it's absolutely plenty. So you want them evenly spaced as possible. I know a lot of people do just eyeball it. That's absolutely fine. You can do that, go ahead, no problem. But what I tend to do is allow an inch at each end, you know, kind of 2.5 centimetres before I make my first marking, and then the next one is just going to be in the middle of those two, so that keeps them evenly spaced. And then obviously you're going to need 3 going across, so you'll need to measure your spine, and again I do about 1/2 centimetre, 1/4 to 1/2 centimetre in before I make my first hole each side. Last one goes in the middle. So if that doesn't make sense, I apologise. Okay, so what have we got here? So we need to go, if I get that, if I bring this down, zoom this in a bit so you guys can see it a bit better. Okay, right, is that better? Can we see? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to mark that as being 1 inch, and then I'm going to do the same at this end. So it's 2.5 centimetres. As always, it doesn't have to be exact, it's just, you know, the closer you get it, the more evenly that your signatures will sit, and the better it will just all look when it's finished, unless you want it to look really scruffy, in which case carry on and do that. Okay, so my measurement between my markers is 14.5 centimetres. Typically it always comes in at 1/2, doesn't it? So that's going to be sort of 7.25. So we'll spin that round and do the same thing this side. Okay, so now we've just got, if you can see them, we've just got little marks for the side at each end. Okay, oh, I'll get my ruler right in a second. So now by making those marks each side, I can line up my ruler and know that I'm going in a straight line for the signatures. So what I want to do, you can mark this on the back as well, you don't have to mark it on the front, you know, that's fine. Where are we? Because I've got the camera in the way of my face now. I'm struggling to see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to have 1 there, I'm going to have 1 there, and then 1 there. Okay, can we see those? Yeah, lovely. Okay, so now you're just going to do the same thing for the other 2 pieces. So now I've got all of my marks in place. So all I'm going to do now is take my pokey tool, and obviously, or an awl if you're using it, or a hole punch if you're using it. I'm not going to do a demonstration of how the Crop-A-Dile works today, that's for another day, but if you do want to use a hole punch, just go ahead and punch the holes in. I'm just going to, as I say, use this little awl to get through there, because it doesn't need a whole lot of space or force, so I prefer to use this because I can get much smaller holes than even the small hole on the Crop-A-Dile makes. So personally I prefer that for this kind of binding, but that is completely up to you, obviously. So we'll just get these last couple of holes in. Sorry, my hands are giving me hell today. I am trying, but they don't like me, which is fine because I don't much like them at the moment either. If they're not shaking and having spasms, then they just lose all strength just by, no, not doing that today. So there you go, there's your holes. That's that part done. You can get rid of that now and get onto the fun part, which is the sewing, which I promise you is much easier than you might think. Right, so grab yourself some clips and one of your signatures, and then what you're going to want to do is clip the pages. Make sure you've got them obviously even and the fold is right. There we go. make sure the envelope is where you want it, because having moved things around, it will move the envelope. If you want it at the top or the bottom, that's fine. I like mine in the middle, roughly. So there we go. Right, so let's get all those shuffled back into place. Okay, so now get your clips. I love to use these hair clips because they just work so well. It's ridiculous, but they really do. Okay, so now we're gonna, let me clip that side actually for a minute. You're gonna take your spine. Now what I suggest is, I've written arrows here, but you can just, you know, write top or whatever, but I've done arrows because I know then that I'm going to mark all of the signatures in the right place, because if your measurement is slightly off, then, you know, that will bugger things up a little bit as well. So you want to just make a mark in line with where the holes are on your spine, and then you're going to use your awl or whatever it is you're using to just punch just a big enough hole through there for your needle and thread to get through. Don't want the hole to be massive. Okay, there we go. And then just do that with your other two signatures. Alright, so all three of my signatures are now punched out with the holes for the sewing. I've got my thread that I usually do kind of 3 or 4 times the length of the signature, top to bottom. I'd rather have a little bit too much on there than not enough, because obviously if you haven't got enough you can't change it. You have to start from scratch. Let me just check that's the right way up now. Yes, that is the right way up, but I'm going to double check. Okay, so we're going to flip over the signature, and you're going to start in the middle hole, and you're going to pull that through until you've got a chunk left here that you can just clip with another little, quite a tight, if you've got one like a really tight grip clip on that one, just stops it being pulled through and lost, and then yeah, end up having to start again. Okay, so now you're going to come through the centre of your spine, whichever side you choose, doesn't matter, and we're just going to go through there. Then you're going to come through one of the other holes, doesn't matter which way round really. I'm just going to go that way. I tend to go to the left, and then we're going to pop that through there, pull it up, and then you'll see that you're getting some tension on there. Do not pull it too tight. No, you don't want it to wobble around, but you also don't want it to tear your pages, which it will likely do if you pull it too tight. So we've come back through the middle here, and then we're going to go across the back and through the top hole, and then just line that up with your hole in the paper. There we go. Pull that through. Lovely. Now you can tie it off now if you want to. More often than not I do an extra pass just to make it really secure, but one is absolutely fine. So I then loop that underneath this piece and the back piece there. Oh my life, it's getting stuck on my rings, which just gives you a little bit of tension there. Then while that's still clipped, purely because this just makes it a little bit easier, I tie off a little knot by just feeding it around the back of that piece while I've still got some tension on it. And then that means that now I can loose that, tie a bow, and my piece isn't going to come any looser from the spine. My signature's not going to be baggy, basically. So now I can just tie another knot to secure that. You can then trim that off, or you can do like I like to do and tie a bow, and then I just put an extra knot in the bow to stop that from coming undone. Now you do have another option, which is if you don't want to have your bow, or you don't want a knot on like inside the signature, you can just do it the opposite way round and have your knots at the back. So you're going in from the back, not from the front. And I'm just pinning my clip across the desk. So yeah, that's up to you. That's basically a personal preference thing. But there you go, that's your first one in. So now you're just going to do exactly the same thing with your other signatures. So let's get the next one. Now, I know this probably sounds really obvious, but do just check that your signatures are still the right way up, because it's very easy to make a mistake when you get carried away thinking, oh, I've learned to do this, and then all of a sudden you've ended up sewing one in wrong. I've had to take a few apart in the past because I've done that. So yeah, try not to get too carried away, and just take a moment just to check that. So again, so if you wanted to have the knot at the back, remember you're going to go in from the back. But because I like to have my knot on the inside, because I just think it looks quaint, or some other such silliness. So then middle through the back. Oh, let me turn that down so I can see what I'm doing. It's a bit tricky when you're trying to have it close on the camera and the camera's in your way. Okay, so there we go. So again, you're just going to give that a little pull, not too tight, and you're going to go back into the middle and through the back, and then round this side, through the middle. I nearly went through the opposite hole then. Through your paper, and then again I'm coming underneath. Let me bring that in really close. I'm going behind that one and that one, and I'm pulling that round. Okay, and then I'm holding that one, that join in place, and I'm just slipping the needle behind the tail end that's clipped, because I can then use the built-in tension to just pull that tight. Okay, so that's signature number 2 done. See, I told you this bit is really quick and really simple. People get really scared about this kind of thing, and honestly, it's not scary. It's really easy. This is the most basic way of doing it. Really, you don't get much more simple than this way. If you think I'm wrong there and you found something that's even easier, then tell me. But for this size book, I don't know of a simpler method of sewing it. Okay, so we've just got one more to go, guys. One more and we're done. Okay, final one. Are we ready? Again, checking that you're the right way up. Check, double check. I have to remind myself, so I'm certainly going to remind you guys. Okay, through we go with that one. Oh, that's good. The fact that it's a little bit difficult to get the needle through is not a bad thing, because it means that the hole's nice and snug. I was going to make a crude joke then about... no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to behave myself. Something that a lot of people in the journaling community that know me don't know is I've actually got an evil sense of humour, and quite often it belongs in the gutter. I normally swear like a sailor, and I like dark humour. Okay, so pulling that one in nice. Again, not too tight. Back through the middle. Now, you guys have got this by now anyway, right? You don't even need me anymore. I'm just here for the show. Right, that is that. Right, there we go. See how lovely and neat that is? It's fabulous. So again, round the back of both of those, holding that tight, round the back of there, don't get it caught in my ring, and huzzah. So now you guys should be feeling hugely proud of yourselves if you've made it this far, apart from anything, listening to my waffle and dealing with this with me. As I said in the previous video, it doesn't normally take very long, but you know, when you're having to explain and show what you're doing, it does make it take longer. But when you've done it a few times and you've had the practice, you're not even going to notice. You're going to do it so quickly, it'll be ridiculous. Okay, I'm just clearing some of these clips and things out of the way. So now you should have that. I mean, isn't that just fabulous? You have your 3 signatures and they're all beautiful. So now's the last part. Oh my god, guys, it's going to be so sad. It's going to be finished. Obviously, if you've put something on your spine that needs to be pointing a certain way, make sure it is pointing that way, and then make sure that your signatures are pointing in the same direction. Okay, because now we're going to fix your spine into the book. Now, ordinarily, I use carpet tape, which is very, very similar to book tape. It's fabric with lots of glue and crosshatch fibres on it, so it gives you a really, really good grip. But I've run out and I didn't realise until I just went to get it. So we're just going to glue it in, but I guess most people are going to just be gluing them in anyway. So, but yeah, good tip for you. Get yourself on Amazon and get yourself some, some carpet tape. So I'm just going to put a really good amount, not so much that it's seeping, you know, out of the edges and stuff, but just, oh, just gone over a little bit there. Okay, so I just want to make sure that the whole spine has got a good amount of glue on it there. Okay, there we go. I'm just gonna wipe the excess of that on my desk edge and then I'll just pick it off later on. You know, like when you're in school and you coat your hands in glue. I swear to God, I'm like that. I just sit there picking it off of my lap tray that I tend to use when I'm, because I tend to have to sit downstairs in the evenings with a lap tray and do most of my journaling that way, because I find it too painful to sit on the desk chair for long periods. So it is what it is, but I end up with glue on absolutely everything. So we're just gonna wiggle that in place, make sure it's lined up obviously with the top and bottom. Just wipe off any excess glue there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just do that so I know that that side can close, and then I'm going to flip it across if I can ever get hold of all of the signatures without moving the spine. There we go. And then do the same there so I know that that side's closing as well. Yes, fabulous. Okay, so now this is another reason why I prefer to use the cloth tape, because I don't have to hold it or clamp it in place while it dries. So we're just going to get this dry. Alright then guys, so now your journal should be looking, in your chosen theme, something a bit like that. And as you can see, all of your signatures are in there and everything's fabulous. Now you can stop right there, leave the video and say thanks Becca, leave me a comment, let me know you were here, let me know if you learned something, or you can stick around while I install the metalware onto the journal. So for those of you leaving now, as I say, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've subscribed. I am doing a subscriber giveaway, so keep an eye out for that at 250 subscribers, and we're getting close. There is a video with what I'm giving away, so you know, go and check that out. And for those of you sticking with me, I'm going to show you how I install all of this. So what you're going to need is some glue, your corner pieces. I tend to do mine front and back cover, but you can just do them on the front cover if you don't want to do them on both. And I have this I've actually covered in a previous video. These are cabinet door ring pulls. You'll find them under cabinet door handles, you know, all manner of things. But yeah, cabinet doors is what these are usually used for. So you can find them on Amazon, eBay, Shine, you know, that kind of thing. And then what I do for these is I cut, well actually I get my husband to do it because I can't do it, so I'm covered in ink and paint. I don't actually have the strength to cut them, but I get him to cut through. You should be able to do it. It's purely because of the problems I have with my hands that stops me doing it. So, you know, it's perfectly doable. I'm not saying like, oh, this is really difficult, get someone else to do it for you. It's just problems I have. So what we then do is glue that on, and then glue those on as well, so it looks like it's screwed in without having to go to all the faff of screwing it into your spine. So that's really helpful. So you're going to need some fine point tweezers, most likely. You're going to need however many of your book corners that you want. As I say, find them online, book corners. I get most of mine from AliExpress. And they're perfectly great. You're going to need some flat nose pliers, preferably non-serrated ones, but I can only find my serrated ones today, but it's fine, I will explain that. And often a pair of needle nose fine point pliers, again not serrated, because it just helps to get these on without damaging them. And you're also going to need just a scrap piece of fabric that just, oh, excuse me, that we can just fold across this to push it down, again just to prevent damage. You can get a tool that will do this for you, but I just do it myself. I don't think it's particularly tricky. So you're going to place your corner piece over. For the most part, you can just give it a little push just to get it into the right place. But then if you get your nifty piece of fabric and your flat nosed pliers, and just gently, and I do mean gently, you don't want to go hard on these, there's no need. Just gently push that in, and then do it the same on this side. And again, just gently. Because if you go too hard on it, what will happen is you will just end up misshaping it. These little things here and these little bits, they are what grip, that's what holds it in place. So you see that's in and it's undamaged, so it's lovely. Now some of these you will find that when you put them on, they splay out at the edges, and if that happens, that's where those come in. And again, you're just going to kind of push that. I'm not going to actually do it because mine doesn't need it today, but you'd use the fabric and then just give that a squeeze inwards, and that would line that up better for you. So as you can see, these are, if I stop dropping them, they're ridiculously easy to install. Oh, if I stop dropping them, that's a funny thing, isn't it? Like, that's likely to happen. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to give you a little bit of a camera adjustment. Sorry, I'm just going to be wobbling all over the place here. Okay, right, just so that you can see that a bit better. So we're just going to fold that across, and as I say, we're not using huge amounts of pressure. As you can see, the pliers aren't closing tightly at all. They're just giving that kind of pressure, and that's plenty. So go ahead and do that on the rest of them if you're doing the others, obviously. Alright, so they're all on. I actually had to repress one of the corners. The angle I was doing it, I couldn't see it properly, and I didn't quite catch the little divot on the inside of it, so I had to just go back and do one of those. But there we have it, so that's looking nice. So now it's just a case of putting on the spine dangle clip. So Let's see if I can reposition this camera a little bit so that you can get a better view of what I'm doing here. So making sure it's the right way round so you don't do it backwards. I've actually got a wonderful guide here. I mean, it's, oh my god, that's just like fate intervened there and went, you know what, I'm just going to help you out there, Becca. Thank you very much. Actually, what I can do is I can lay that out flat there. Okay, so as usual, glue. Good lord, us crafters, we do get through a heck of a lot of glue, don't we? So I'm just gonna give that, again, you don't want it pouring out the edges. A little bit in the screw holes is fine, but yeah, just make sure that you're not using so much that it all just spills out. And then again, just checking it's the right way around. And if I move the ring, you can see a bit better what I'm doing there. And I'm just gonna, God, I couldn't have planned that better, could I? It was clearly fate getting that lace. So there we go. Oh no, hasn't actually stuck yet, Becca. Give it a chance. I get impatient. I'm a very impatient person. Okay, so we're just going to give that a minute or so just to let it dry off. Right, so now that that's stuck down, I'm trying to bring this in close so that you can get a better view of what I'm doing. So I've got a really fine point nozzle here that I'm just going to put a little bit of the glue into because you don't want to flood it. And then I'm going to get a hold of my the screw head, if my tweezers will allow it, and I'm going to drop it in there and just give it a little push down. Oh, and apparently I'm going to hit the camera because I'm just not used to it being where it is there. So we're just going to have to just give it a little push, and it's going to take a minute for the glue to dry, obviously, so if you mess too much it'll just pop back out again until it's dried. So we're going to do exactly the same on that side. Get that glue in there and around the actual hole as well. Second screw head, and just tuck that in place. More often than not you can get these in just with your fingers, but I'm a bit of a wobble today. Look, and now I can't even, oh, for goodness sakes. Oh, good grief. Anyone would think I'd never done this before. Okay. Right, so as you can see, that now looks like it's been screwed in, but it has not. Alright then guys, so now you have your journal and it's ready for you to start decorating your pages and filling all the things up. People that know me know I don't actually do my cover until last. I don't know why, I just never ever decorate the cover properly until I'm finished. It's like the journal tells me what the cover needs to be, you know, not the other way around. So yeah, so that's that. I hope that you've enjoyed this one. In the next one I will show you a way of making the book itself from scratch using board, and how to bind your signatures a different way to have closer together signatures. So yeah, join me for that one as well, which will hopefully be by the weekend. I hope that you've enjoyed this two-parter. Obviously, if you joined for this one, go back and watch the first one to see how I created the journal from the cover itself. And I'd love it if you subscribed. All the stuff I said to the people I told to bugger off earlier on when I was going to do these bits. So yeah, join me, subscribe, leave me a comment. I do love it when you guys leave me comments. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Plus it means it keeps these videos relevant for people like yourself to watch. So have a great day guys, and I will speak to you soon. Happy crafting.